Hey guys, Johnny Crimson 2000 here, and I just wanted to go ahead and make a short, potentially, review video here, audio, if you will, of The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which was just released here in the United States yesterday, actually. Today is Friday, May 2nd. It was released for early screenings yesterday. I've been fortunate enough to have watched the movie twice already. I watched it yesterday, Thursday, at an early screening in standard 2D, and then I watched it again this morning in IMAX 3D. So I feel like I can go ahead and make a, I don't want to say a full-on review because you always have to watch movies, multiple times before you can actually critique it properly. Mind you, I'm not a proper movie critiquer, reviewer person. I'm no nostalgia critic or anything like that. I didn't go specifically to school to learn filming or anything like that. So I know my review isn't going to be the most technical, so keep that in mind. But I do want to give my impressions of it. Mind you, as you guys have already seen in the title, because I'm making sure to put it in the title, that this does contain spoilers. So I'm going to give you a chance right now. If you don't want to be spoiled, if you haven't watched the movie yet, then don't continue on because there is going to be spoilers. Unfortunately, with a movie like this, especially with the plot, it's kind of hard not to give spoilers when you're reviewing it or giving your thoughts about it. So anyway. Going into Amazing Spider-Man 2, I'm just going to refer to it as Spider-Man 2, it's shorter. Going into Spider-Man 2, I honestly wasn't all that excited at first. I mean, I'm excited. I'm a huge fan of Spider-Man, huge fan of Marvel. Spider-Man's probably my favorite Marvel superhero. Not by much, but he is probably my most favorite one. I just relate to Peter Parker the best out of any of the superheroes. But wasn't all that excited, mainly because the Amazing Spider-Man series as a whole just kind of seems redundant. We've already had the original trilogy, and at this point, I'm hoping Sony just gives up the rights to Spider-Man so that Spider-Man can revert back to Marvel Studios, and we can eventually see some more crossovers with, or some proper crossovers rather, with the rest of the Avengers and the rest of the Marvel Studios properties like Captain America, Thor, Hulk, all those guys. Same thing goes with Fantastic Four and the X-Men, but that's another story. But I gave this one a shot, and you know what? I'm so very happy that I did because this is probably my favorite Spider-Man movie thus far, including all the trilogy movies with Tobey Maguire. So first things first, the plot kind of goes all over the place. Again, spoilers. The main plot, if there is one, is obviously that Spider-Man has to stop Electro and eventually the Green Goblin. The problem with this movie, or one of the problems that I already see, is that there's way too many subplots going on. You have subplots all over the place. It starts off with Peter Parker trying to figure out what happened to his parents, why they sort of left him. So he's trying to find that out. He also has a subplot with Gwen Stacy, obviously played by Emma Stone, where he's sort of, every now and then he'll see images of Gwen Stacy's dad, obviously Captain, what's his name? I can't remember his name. Captain Stacy. I'm just gonna say that. And oh God, I just blanked. Yeah, so he sees images of Captain Stacy, Gwen Stacy's dad. Obviously, he died in the first film, and he's tormented by the promise that he made him that he would keep Gwen safe, meaning that he wouldn't kind of bring her into his world as Spider-Man. So he's tormented by that to the point where they break up towards the beginning of the film, and it's sort of like from there they're just trying to figure out, are we right together? Are we not right together? Gwen's sort of like doing this whole thing where, oh, you can't tell me what to do. I'm making my own choices, that sort of stuff. But then at the same time, I want to do my own thing. It's kind of like all over the place, sort of like a real relationship. You know what I mean? There's also obviously Electro Max Dillon, played by Jamie Foxx. He's sort of like he's probably my favorite character in the entire movie. He's sort of like a very, very sad person who kind of just describes himself as like a nobody. Nobody pays attention to him. Nobody gives him the time of day. He gets bullied. He's like your typical super nerd, but with a really, really like psychological problem where he becomes infatuated with Spider-Man early on when Spider-Man saves his life. Obviously, he gets into an accident at Oscorp where he works. He becomes Electro, and then the rest of the movie is just him trying to get revenge on Spider-Man because Spider-Man kind of sees him that he's trying to take his spotlight away and that he's trying to make other people hate him. he's a really cool character. We also get introduced to Harry Osborn, who becomes the Green Goblin. Harry Osborn, obviously there's a Norman Osborn, but he dies pretty early on, which I thought was kind of weird, but cool at the same time. We don't need to see Norman. We can pretty much get the same thing with Harry. And then just a whole bunch of crap goes on. If you've already watched it, you know what I mean. But there's a bunch of subplots. That's probably my biggest gripe with this, is that there's a little bit too many subplots, to be honest with you. In my opinion, it all still works fairly well, but there is just a bit too much going on. I kind of got, I think a lot of people got a lot of Spider-Man 3 vibes, where they're trying to push so many different subplots all into one. You know, you have Spider-Man's parents, you have Gwen Stacy, you have Electro, you have Green Goblin, you have what's the other subplot? The Sinister Six subplot that we're trying to work towards. So there is a lot going on. As far as the characters, my favorite character out of this whole thing was definitely Electro. I wish, though, that they would have shown him a bit more. I loved Jamie Foxx's portrayal of him. Honestly, most of the time when you see a villain, you're supposed to hate him. I found that I felt bad for this guy. I really did. It wasn't his fault that he turned into Electro, and even after that, he for the first couple of minutes until he went back crazy insane, he was pretty innocent. I mean, the police were shooting him, but it wasn't his fault. He didn't know how to control his powers and things like that. And I thought, obviously, visually, he looked very awesome, very different from the original one. I think this one's based on the Ultimate version of him. Mind you, I don't follow Ultimate, so if I get a lot of these facts wrong, I apologize. But I'm pretty sure he may be based on that, and I think that that was a good choice for him. The original Electro kind of had this goofy outfit, so it'd be kind of weird to have him in a real life portrayal. So I loved Electro. I wish we would have seen a little bit more of him. I felt really bad for the guy, I really did. Green Goblin, played by Dane DeHaan. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He was a jerk. He just has that face that you just want to punch him. And honestly, I thought his character kind of came out of nowhere. We didn't see him at first, and they kind of just try to make it so that in this movie where, he was away for like the past couple years, that's why he wasn't in the first one. And he was sort of essentially, we didn't really see that much character development with him. I mean, yeah, at first, we found out right away that he hates his father, and then he kind of wanted to carry on his father's work. He, inherited some virus thing, and he kind of went crazy. That's sort of like his thing there. Again, it was a very, very quick sort of plug-in. We only see the Green Goblin for like the last maybe 15 minutes of the film, where he has his one and only fight with Spider-Man, even though that has a lot of repercussions, which I'll get to eventually. But I thought that as far as the Harry Osborn character, I thought they could have done a little bit more with him. Green Goblin, obviously, he was only there for like 10 minutes. He looked pretty cool. Again, I think it might have been based on the one on Ultimate. Again, I don't know a lot of this stuff. I think the Amazing Spider-Man is based more on the Ultimate version than the original one, so I may be missing out on some things. But again, Green Goblin, I thought he was okay. I prefer Electro, honestly. I wish they would have shown him more. And the last villain that we saw was Rhino, but he was a very throwaway character. He only appeared in the last 5 minutes of the film, even though he was kind of prominently shown in the trailers and in the posters. We don't really see him until the last 5 minutes, and that's only to set up the next movie. We don't really see a proper fight between him and Spider-Man. If you see the trailer where Spider-Man's spinning fighting him in the street, and he's spinning the manhole cover, that's pretty much where it ends. That's as much as the film shows, and so it's kind of a letdown. Again, I think this one's based on the Ultimate version, because obviously the original one is actually wearing a costume as opposed to some mechanized sort of mech-looking thing that just so happens to look like a rhino. So that was pretty meh. Peter Parker's parent, his dad's story, I thought was done very well. My only gripe with that is this whole thing that he put his DNA into the spiders that it would eventually bite Spider-Man, so that's the reason why Spider-Man got his powers in the first place. Like, he didn't die like other people would have because he put his own genes in it, and obviously Peter's genetics match with that of his dad's. I thought that was weird. I don't know if that was in the comics. I don't know if that was in the Ultimate version, but it's an interesting enough kind of concept. And I thought that it went really well. I thought it was a good resolution to what was started in the original Amazing Spider-Man, the first film. So I had no problem with it. I thought it was pretty cool. Again, it was just that it was that plus every other subplot that kind of made this one sort of like, yeah, it was good. I just kind of wish there was more to it than that. I wish that I would have felt a little bit more for Peter Parker's dad. I thought that he wasn't really on screen all that much for me to feel bad for him. Even, well, I guess no, because we saw him a lot in the original one. So I guess for me, Peter Parker's whole parents side plot was done well. I guess I wasn't that excited about it, but I thought it was done. What was there was done well. Let's just put it that way. And finally, the one that probably everybody saw coming, Gwen Stacy. Big spoilers, she dies. And to be completely honest, that was honestly probably my favorite part of the entire movie. Now, obviously, being a Spider-Man fan, I knew that this was going to happen. Everybody knew. As soon as we saw as soon as we learned that Gwen Stacy was going to be in the original Amazing Spider-Man, the first film, we knew that she was going to die eventually. But having seen it on film, especially having seen it twice, my God, it was done very well. Even though we already knew it was going to happen, I knew she was going to die in this movie. There were clues in the trailers and things like that to kind of explain that, hey, she's probably going to die, and she does. But the way that they did it, and my hat's off to both Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone, because in the original film, the first film, I didn't really connect all that much to their love story. In this one, for whatever reason, I felt invested in their love life. And maybe it's just a matter that it just felt more believable. You know, Gwen Stacy was going off. She's trying to do her own thing. You know, Spider-Man, Peter Parker's trying to kind of keep her there and kind of, he wants her to be happy, but at the same time, he doesn't want to, you know, he knows that if he lets her do whatever, he's going to be unhappy. I don't know what it was, but it was very, very well done. And I kind of give it off to Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone because they had a lot of chemistry, and by the end of the movie, when Gwen Stacy finally did die, you felt really heartbroken. At least I did. It was heart-wrenching to see when Gwen Stacy died and Peter Parker Spider-Man held her in his arms. Again, even though I knew it was coming, it was very heart-wrenching, and that also goes into my other thing where one of the big things that helped it out was the musical score was amazing. I loved Electro's theme. I don't know if it's called that, but I loved Electro's theme. I love the piano piece that plays every time we see Gwen Stacy, and it fits really well, especially when, you know, you finally end up seeing how she dies and sort of how tormented Peter Parker becomes afterwards for like 5 months. And it was the music, honestly, is probably my favorite soundtrack from a superhero sort of like from a superhero movie. I'm not counting like theme songs because I mean, obviously, if you hear me say that, you're eventually, I know some of you will eventually say like, oh, but what about the Superman theme? What about the Batman theme? I'm talking about like not theme songs. I'm talking about like the score, like the background music, that kind of thing. I really loved it. I really loved just the music in general was just amazing, and it was done by Hans Zimmer and the Magnificent Six. If you want to know, some of the soundtrack is available online, so you can check it out. But God damn it, like that scene with Gwen Stacy when she finally dies was so heart-wrenching, and honestly, that's the one thing that I remember most about this film. I mean, everything else was great. Obviously, the visuals were amazing. No pun intended. And having seen it both in 2D and 3D, either way they look great. Like Electro especially, I thought looked amazing. The special effects that they did with him were definitely done very well. And Spider-Man's new costume really pops out. It's very bright. Definitely looks like something that you'd see in a video game, but it still works in the real world. Green Goblin, again, he looks a little different. I don't think I particularly like this new design. He kind of looks like the original Green Goblin from, well, I don't know how to describe it. He looks like Harry Osborn from Spider-Man 3 with just a little bit sicker looking skin. I don't know how to describe it, but he was okay. And then, of course, Rhino was just a big thing. We didn't see much of him, but he looked, I guess, as goofy as he needs to be. So in the end, just to wrap this up, I promised it was going to be short, but I'm going on 15 minutes now, and I apologize. But again, I really love this movie. I watched it twice, once in 2D, once in IMAX 3D. Both times were great. My favorite part, honestly, to be completely honest, and I don't mean to be like lovey-dovey about this whole thing, I really loved Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy's chemistry together. I thought it was the best part of the whole movie, aside from the visuals. I mean, as far as like plot and character development, I thought that was the best part of the whole thing. Obviously, the visuals are great, and I can't wait to go see the next movie. Hopefully, it's going to have the Sinister Six, because we kind of have that movie coming up. Just to let you guys know, from what I've read so far, there is plans to make a Sinister Six movie and a Venom spinoff, and also a Amazing Spider-Man 3. So I don't know how that's going to work out, but it looks like it's going to be interesting. So anyway, do what you will. Share with me, what do you guys think so far, having watched it? What did you guys think? I mean, do you guys, what was your favorite part? I know mine was definitely the whole love story. I know that sounds cheesy, but it really was. The visuals were my favorite part. I really love Electro, and the music was great. But what was your part? Go ahead and comment in the comment section below and let me know. Oh, and by the way, the whole X-Men little cameo thing at the end was really throwaway. It really didn't do anything other than was just a really short teaser for X-Men Days of Future Past. There was no interaction between Spider-Man or any of the X-Men, so don't get too excited. There's really nothing there. So that was rather disappointing. So anyway, guys, that's it for me. This has been Johnny Crims 2000, and I will see you in my next video. Alright, peace out. As always, if you like this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you want to get more stuff from me. In the meantime, if you like my videos, be sure to find me on Twitter, Tumblr, Raptr, and Screwattack.com to see the other gaming-related content that I upload. Info is in the description. Who knows? Maybe you'll like my stuff. Maybe. Maybe.